I've not been on, obviously you probably discussed it, about the sort of booing of the England player, and especially of Gareth Southgate during that game against Hungary on Tuesday.
I understand people booing, right, because I've done panto. And people like booing because it's great fun. Yeah. And it is an emotional response. It is. What else do you do to show dissatisfaction? Yeah. Other than walk out early.
But booing in panto is different to booing.
Yes,
like a real person, like booing a real person who's sort of delivered you. It's not like, who do you boo in panto? Like, give me something.
King Rat.
Abanazar. It's not like Abanazar's like been really good for you. It wasn't like 2 years ago. Was he Big Rat? King Rat. You know, or the
Dick
ogre.
King Rat.
Okay, King. It's not like King. It's not like you were throwing beer around Croydon Box Park because King Rat had done something good for you 2 years ago, and the things have turned.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm just saying I understand the emotional response. And if you want to express dissatisfaction, booing is quite a fun way to do it, and it makes a point.
I don't think those booers were having fun.
No, okay.
Do you know what? I don't think they were. I mean, I've never booed my own team because I just think it's not going to help them. You know, it's not going to make. Like I've said this before, but like if there were 10 listeners just there booing us when they didn't like autobiography wars, it would make the thing harder.
Yeah, but I've booed managers when I've wanted them out of my club
during the match.
Not during the match, after the match. Yeah,
I don't know.
But I mean, I think Gareth Southgate has done enough for England
to not be booed.
I
thought it was completely ridiculous. I just thought anyone getting this worked up in June in a game and also people saying we should beat Hungary. So that's not the starting 11. Like, it's just like half the team. You know, all this. I just found the whole thing ridiculous. There's an interesting article by Paul McInnes in The Guardian. He's spoken to a guy called Simon Chadwick, who's been on this station a bit actually, who is a global professor of sport at M. Lyon Business School, and he sort of talks about how football fans kind of expect Pep and Klopp. You know, they want to, or Conte, that kind of manager now. You know, to clearly. Managers are invested, whether they sit still or not. But almost fans now need to see someone running around and punching the air and all that kind of nonsense, which you don't need. You need your team to win, don't you? That's what you need to see. But also there's a sort of social media part of this, which he says, I'll read this quote because it's quite interesting. It says, look, we're all co-creators online, right? Whether it be Twitter, Facebook or TikTok, we live in an age where we make a contribution, right? We're co-creators of the product. So it's all the product. The football is the product, but the tweets about it afterwards and the quote tweets and all that are equally part of it, which is a ridiculous way to think about it.
It's being involved in it. That's what a phone-in is, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's what a phone-in is, and before we had Twitter and the internet.
So I've been in here. I remember a game years ago where England were beating, I think it was Germany, and letting 2 late goals. And I was like, oh, it's a shame. And the producer at the time was like, oh, brilliant. We'll get loads of good calls. I was like, that's not how this works. But he says, look, if one element of the product, right, the on-field game, falls short of the standards, then we contribute to the further creation of the product. They might think this sounds nonsense, but there's an element of truth to this. By reflecting the poor quality of the experience that we're getting, we live in an experience economy. We know that on social media we'll object and complain about football. We're beginning to see that kind of co-creation of the experience also beginning to take place in the stadium. So sort of people feel that they're...
But that becomes the manufacturing of the experience, which is what happens when you get things like goal music and that sort of thing. Is like, that didn't used to exist. The experience just used to be enough in itself. Didn't it? Just going to the football, that was the experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of think it's due. I understand if you pay to
go.
But
you don't get fan media. You don't get you don't get podcasts. You don't get TV sites or blogs. You don't get all those things.
There's an interesting part of it, which is the journalist experience and the fan experience are different, and the longer that you work in the game, the sort of, you know how like footballers, they say footballers are, you know, there's a distance between footballers and fans, you know, and it's getting exponentially bigger because fans earn footballers earn so much money, and they're just so distant, they don't get the buzz to the game like they used to back in whenever. But actually, the journalists also have a distance from the fans. They treat it in a different way. So there is that truth that, you know, the people like me saying, well, you shouldn't boo. I didn't pay to go and watch. I didn't travel and pay to go and watch that football match. But I still think objectively booing anybody while they're doing the football is not going to help them do the football any better, right? I just don't think that's the case. No. It's just not going to improve your team. And okay, you're 3-0 down with 5 minutes left. You're probably not going to win that game, but strange things happen. And actually, if there's a whole atmosphere of people supporting the manager and the players, it's going to be better. And if I was one of those players, genuinely, if I was one of those players who thinks, hang on, I got us to the World Cup, the semi-final. I got us to the final of the Euros. We lost on penalties, okay? Yeah. And Southgate is not beyond criticism. He could have managed those games differently. We might have won them fine. But if I was a player sitting there after I've had that season and I'm knackered, and you're allowed to be tired if you're a sports person. It doesn't mean you're not grateful for your job. I'd be sitting in that dressing room going,
I don't want to do it for them. Yeah,
I don't want to do it for them. I don't want to do it for them. Whereas if you're not, and Wales, you can't make those comparisons. The expectations are different. If you're a Wales player, and even in the, they're on a crest of a wave now. They don't always qualify. It may be a slightly false comparison, but you're in that dressing room going, I feel part. We are just an extension of the fans and that lovely old guy that sings that song, and everybody is in on it. If I was one of those England players, I would be sat in that dressing room just thinking, do one.